the lowercase on Zoom. Isn't that funny? Just for 10. Ah, there it is. Got it. Yep. Thank you. What fun. I am. I'm about to do my 200th episode. I love that. And again, welcome to Startup Life. Yeah.
All right, we are live. Hey, everybody. And when I say hey, everybody, this is knowing that there's 0 viewers currently, but this will be immortalized on YouTube in a little cleaner way going forward. But today we have the incredible Ande Lyons on the show. And yeah, clapper. Love it. Love it. Ande is an incredible live streamer and content creator who has helped me in so many different ways, but has been an amazing and incredible just voice of support for startups and for us here at LegalQ. So, Ande, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, I thank you so much, Zeb, for having me. I'm a huge fan of you and of LegalQ,
Thank
and
you.
had the good fortune to connect with you on a networking app, and just fell in love with your mission, your vision, and everything that you're doing, and your deep commitment. Because as a founder, that's what it takes. I'm a 4 times founder, and I've raised millions in VC, thousands in angel. I've used my charming personality and bootstrapped a couple of
Yeah, love it.
businesses. And I interview people all the time on my live stream show, the Startup Life live show, and
Yep.
it's this journey that folks get into when they go to launch your business. The reason you're asked why, folks, all the time, why, what is your
Yep.
why, what's
Yep.
your North Star, is because that's what gets you out of bed in the morning. This is not a journey for anyone who's looking to make money quickly or
True.
even make impact quickly. It takes
Mhm.
day after day after day commitment and conviction to your mission and vision. You need to be a severe problem solver. Like that's like, oh, love to solve problems and be
Totally.
willing to face, these what we call growth opportunity moments where you are finding out what works and what doesn't work. And wow, which is why we love live streaming, because that
Amazing.
is as close to startup life as you can get. I mean, technology can
Yeah.
go bonkers. Um, you could be stumbling on your words, your thoughts. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and initially, you're talking to crickets. That's okay. As you said,
Great
as
point.
you progress, it is archived. This content, someone may find 5 years from now and go, I never thought of that. That changed my life. That changed my trajectory. You have
Yeah.
no idea. The most important thing you're doing, Zeb, is you're doing it. You're willing to
Mm.
show up and create the space and share your journey with folks.
Ande, that's so much to unpack there. I thank you first. I love it. I love it. And such a successful, founder. You could be on the beach somewhere, but you are still, making it happen, making it supportive of other founders. And I just want to commend you for your personal mission to truly help, such an important cause because I think you are just I've talked to a lot of different founders and people that could legitimately be operating partner at a VC firm somewhere and just casually writing checks, checking Twitter, and call it good, right? Like you are in the weeds, you're doing a live stream, and I love the corollary that you have between live streaming and
Startup life.
startup life. It's so real. It's a little too real sometimes, but I love it. I love it.
You really are flying by the seat of your pants. You're
Mm-hmm.
just, there's no guarantee on anything.
Yep.
Yeah, and the reason I go live is because of that. I want the exhilaration feeling of,
Yeah.
what's going to happen.
Totally.
And on the platform I stream on, we can take questions and comments from the live audience. So I go
Love
live
that.
on LinkedIn and Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, and folks swing by and
Yep.
they'll have a question for me or the guest or a comment that adds to the conversation.
Mm,
Plus, technology can really test your ability to be flexible.
true.
And that's what the founder journey does every day. So I
Wow.
love that. And the purpose and mission of the live stream show for me, what I'm doing is to amplify diverse founder voices. That's female, people of color,
Love it.
folks from the LGBTQ plus community,
Yeah.
and disabled, which is like the most invisible
I bet.
of
Yeah.
all, and amplify them while providing strategies and solutions, insights and
Mm,
inspiration for founders who aren't in startup rich communities like you and I are so fortunate to be part of.
so true.
What city are you in?
Minneapolis. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a
So,
great startup community there and resources and everything to help, but not everybody has that.
agree. Agree. Yeah. No, it's I love your mission. It's incredible, and I wish um, more people would be like you, Andy. Truly, because the world would be a much better place. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, and that's why I have a deep appreciation for LegalQ. Anytime you step outside your home or even in your home, there's an opportunity where you might run up against the law. And we want the law in our country to work, right? That's what
You're
we're all
here.
fighting for
You're
right
here.
now. Please, democracy, right?
Yeah.
The rule of law. And so at the same time, we may stumble or we may have things happen, especially in some states one can live in, California.
Yeah.
So you need to be prepared, and so things will happen. And if you are a person of color, you're going to get hammered more, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get immediately spotlighted. And to
True.
have what you're creating at LegalQ, to have like a place to go immediately to find out who in your state, in your town, who's going to be the expert, who's going to be in the category you need in, because sometimes it's criminal, sometimes it's civil, sometimes
Yeah.
it's, I don't know.
Yeah. Everything in
and
between. Yeah.
know what, no, the old days you go like this into the yellow pages. Now you go
Yeah.
online, you don't know what you're going to get. There's not
True.
any reviews, there's not enough information about that legal
Yeah.
support. And you're also making it affordable to get this incredible support. I
Thank you.
mean, I'm a huge Michael Connolly, Bosch, and Lincoln Lawyer fan. So,
Nice. Nice. It's a great,
you know,
great
that's
trio.
who you
Yeah.
want on your side.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Right. I love it. I love it. And thank you for the kind words. And that is our mission through and through, is just access to justice, access to a simple way to enable a conversation with an attorney for people that otherwise feel excluded from the legal system, right? Because I think, to your point, like we have so many barriers to entry today that I think
Oh, yeah.
in a lot of ways legal is at fault, right? Like for my sins, I'm a lawyer. Like I see how we put these barriers in place in a lot of ways to maintain margins, and some of it's not like you know uh negative to the point of like on purpose. It's more so just like over time, there's not any less regulation. It's more you have to do it on these buckets, and then that just ends up biting them. So I think um, thank you for the kind words again. And we're out there trying to do it. And this startup stream is a way to hopefully put some transparency into how we're doing that. And to be honest,
I love it. It's very
yeah,
gamifying. I mean, it's like gamification. It's like the gamers. I go onto Twitch
Uh-huh.
and the gamers are there coding. They're talking about the game. They're talking
True,
about what they're
true.
building. They're
Great point.
talking about what they're bringing. So why not? Why shouldn't any tech company be out there showing how they're getting to that's how you build community. That's
Love
how
it.
you get people aware of, wow, look what they're doing.
Yeah.
I just love that you're doing this. And of course, your post that you were so courageous to share on LinkedIn about you personally. And folks, this startup journey, this founder journey is especially hard because when you're an employee, you have expectations and deliverables as an employee.
Yeah.
And you have someone over your head, you've got time constraint, you have everything sort of made for you. When you switch to owner, you have to set those in place for yourself. And it's really hard.
True.
And it's really hard to not get distracted by shiny objects. It's really hard to not just go hashtag why bother today.
Yeah. So
And
true. So
so,
true.
and so the fact that you were so open and transparent about that challenge as a founder, I don't care how funded you are. I've seen founders just completely collapse under the pressure of, after they raised the money, because now they
Sure.
have this short runway to make things happen.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just complicated. And
Definitely.
then you have to insert inside yourself a constant, you got this, because
Yeah.
you have to put the brave face on for
Yeah.
everybody,
Yeah.
for your
Yeah.
team, for your vendors, for your investors. And a lot of times founders can have the answer inside themselves, but if they don't have a confidant to express, like, I don't know what to do here, this is going wrong here, this is happening here, and then this, that, you will find that once you start talking to someone about what's going on, all of a sudden you're going to go, wait, oh, I could do that because then this could happen, that could happen.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with what you're doing now. If you're going live and you're talking about what you're building and coding and pulling together, you can have conversations just even out loud with your maybe ghost of an audience,
I love it.
and
Yes. Yes. Such a
and
great
all of
point.
a sudden, just having that speaking out loud, folks, is so powerful. So I
Preach.
admire you deeply for staying in the trenches, and don't ever believe that this is something that should be happening quickly. It is years of
Great
effort.
point. Great point. Yeah. No, very, very great point. To that end, can you walk us through a little bit of your live streaming journey and just how the
Yeah.
inception and where you kind of hit some different breakpoints? Maybe would love to learn.
Well, we have to go back about 10 years.
Okay.
That's which is also when I started podcasting, which I had a
Wow.
producer when I did my first podcast who held my hand once a week
Okay. Love it.
for 52 weeks. And then I felt confident to do it myself
Great.
back on the day, Blog Talk Radio. But at the
Okay.
same time, Google Plus was having a thing called Hangouts. And
Okay.
I
Yeah.
thought, oh, I love this live video. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew in 1986 that the video camera loved me and I loved it. What
Love
was
it.
I going to do with that, Seb? I mean, a lot of
Great
people weren't even
question.
born who are listening to them right now. 86, they weren't even alive then. Um, but that's when video cameras came out for all the rest of us
Amazing.
folks. And I thought, what am I going to do? Go down to the local TV station and get a job? Already, I was too old for that. And so
No. No.
the fact that the technology has moved forward. So I became part of this really cool Google Plus group of folks and
Okay.
hosts, and
Yeah.
I had a few different shows then. But the technology kind of drove me nuts. It wasn't that stable.
Sure.
And so in 2017, I took a pause, but also I got a little uncomfortable with the fact that I was aging, and folks, as you age, you have to tap into even more self-worth
Fair
because
enough. Hey,
everything's starting
I'm
to
getting the grays. I get you. I feel you.
yeah, it started to fall apart. But so when the founders of StreamYard came out with their beta in November of 2018, and they reached
Mm-hmm.
out to a few known hosts like myself to help kick the tires,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is great. And then they came out fully in alpha in
Okay.
November of 2019. And I'll tell you, I have shoes older than these founders. Um, I was like, wow, I really should do something about this. I
Sure.
should go back to live streaming. And then COVID hit. And I was a
Okay.
co-host of a monthly pitch event here, startup pitch event here in Boston called
Yeah.
Founders Live. And
Love
so
it.
when we had to shut down early here in Massachusetts, it was March. I mean,
Okay.
February was the last live
Yeah.
pitch event we had.
Yep.
I said to my co-host, let's go online and live stream. And he was like, say what? And, and our pitch event
Love
was
it.
5 founders had 99 seconds to pitch their value prop
Okay.
to an active audience
Yep.
and
Yep.
a couple of investors.
That's a tough,
And
tough sell,
so
but I love it. Yep.
yeah, so I took it online and, we made it all happen month after month.
Amazing.
And so for me personally, so I said, wow, as an extrovert,
Yep.
I got to do something
I
here.
hear you. Yep.
So I started the Startup Life live show just as a weekly evening, see how it goes.
Sure.
One one time after another, because live streaming takes a lot of courage. Because when you're live on all
Yeah.
these platforms, you're talking to people in the audience, you're moving the show along as a host, and
Right.
in the
Right.
interview, you've got you got a lot going on.
Mhm.
And I was part of a cohort of about 75 folks with Founder Jim on a marketing topic.
Okay.
And when George Floyd was murdered.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so I was one of 4 whites in this class. And so I got
Okay.
a deeper understanding of the lack of amplification
Yeah.
in the
Wow.
diverse founder world and underserved and underrepresented as well. And I said, okay, I'm shifting to amplify diverse founders only, and I'm going to go twice a week.
Love it.
And by that January, I said, this is all I want to do.
That's incredible.
I've been coaching, mentoring and stuff like that. This is all I want to do. So I became all and
That's amazing.
and folks, let me tell you, this yeah, and I would look at the numbers, and this what happens when you live stream. It's not an accurate number, but you get kind of a ballpark idea of how
Sure.
many people are tuning in.
Okay.
And when you see it at 0, you're like, I am such a 0.
Yeah.
I'm such a
I hear you.
loser.
I hear you. I hear you. And
But you have to keep
you
going.
got to keep going. You got to keep going. And I do want to just shout out, by the way, Joanna, who our first comment of our stream here. She said, tuning in before my meeting for a few minutes. I wish I could be on the call with you, but can't wait to see us later. So to your earlier point, Joanna is incredible, all things social for LegalQ, and was hopefully going to maybe be on this call, but couldn't make this one. Hopefully in the future we'll love to
that would
do
be great.
a trip. But yeah, it's to her point, right? Like seeing it in the future, and to your point as well. I think that's the piece that I got to remember is like it's zeros today, but if in the future people can get some edification from this in some ways, that's
right.
encouraging. So in that process, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
and consistency. A lot of people who start podcasts, which you can do in your jammies. Nobody's looking at you.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's nice.
Podcasting. You got to make it. You got to be consistent. You have to have a reason why you're doing it, just like any business map. Sure. Right. What's your purpose? What's your value prop? Yeah. What is your outcome? How are you going to serve people? What does success look like? Mm-hmm. Et cetera. And so people think podcasts, I'll do a podcast, I'll get thousands of downloads. What?
No. I hear you.
Unless you're famous already.
I totally agree. And I think the other part of that is, I love your point earlier about it, just using it as a way to build community. So like what has been the most impactful kind of part of the community that you've built along the way? Like what about that has inspired you?
The founders I interview, who this is their first media opportunity, and I'm really good at helping them. Amazing. I'm really good at keeping the conversation going, making sure, because every show I'm about celebrating my guests, because I'm just an on-wonder of anybody who launches a business.
Love it.
Many of my founders are not media prepared. Not many of them, but several of them. And then or their stories are so amazing that I share it again and again. Yeah. So I can go from someone who is a beginner founder, right? A newbie founder, who had been incarcerated. It was the first time they told the story about being incarcerated from 17 to 21 and saying, I don't want to be that guy 20 years from now. And so he taught himself computer science without a computer while he was incarcerated. Wow. When he came out, he got himself a used Toshiba, started helping people. Yeah. And in the midst of that, there was the really bad hurricane in 2008, wiped out a bunch of a lot of property.
Yeah.
And a friend of his said, "Hey, come help us with roofing.
Okay.
We need to get all," and right now in Florida, that's what's happening. Bring in the
Yeah.
roofers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really hard to get roofers. And he went down and he was watching everybody risking their lives. And he goes, "Wait a minute, there's got to be a better way to measure the roof and what's needed."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he sat down and figured out, he first turned his Toshiba into what he called a Hackintosh, where he had to
Okay.
hack the
Yeah.
Toshiba so he could
Love
build
it.
the iOS,
Yeah. That's
a
a tough
version
thing
of
to
an
do.
app
Wow.
that could measure roofs. And then he did the Android version, brought
Amazing.
it to market. Meanwhile, he's a dad, he's got 3 daughters, he's got a
Yeah.
life, and he's still doing, home repair and things like that. So he told this wonderful story, Zeb, about
Wow.
repairing some guy's, under sink situation. He's on his back, fixing something. The guy goes, "Well, what do you do?" And he says, "Well, I've got this great app I'm bringing." And the guy said, "I want to be an investor." That's how he got his,
Amazing.
first funding.
Yeah.
This app, when I interviewed him a year ago, it was millions of downloads, 70,000 users a month.
Awesome. That's
It
so
became
incredible.
a real insure tech business.
Yeah.
And now it's just taken time and him showing up again and again for his business. But
Sure.
I just was so honored to have him on the show, telling his story and sharing with everyone how it can be done. I
Yeah.
just, and guys, go check out Pitch Gauge. That's his
Pitch
app,
gauge.
Pitch
Love it.
Gauge. And his name is Abraham, and last name Ventura, and phenomenal founder, amazing human. Yeah. And then on the other side of the spectrum
Yeah.
is this incredible founder. She and her husband are very much on mission. And so they said, "We want to change the GDP in Africa." Like, talk about a hairy, audacious goal. Well, how do we do that? Well, we
That's
have to have
incredible.
a lot of money, right? Well, how do we
Sure.
do that? And some people think that, you launch a business, you got to make a lot of money. Doesn't always happen. But she and her husband came up with a
Can
great
attest to that.
idea. They wanted to bring glamping, like out of Africa kind of
Okay.
camping,
Sure.
to the world. And
Okay.
so their first site was out, and they wanted to partner with all outside of all the national parks in the
Wow.
US and Canada,
Yeah.
but luxury camping,
Sure.
okay,
Love it.
glamping. And
Yeah.
so their first facility, they got all, raised the money for it, got it all set up outside of Yosemite. He's on the road raising capital. She's in their camper with her 2 young ones on the glamp
Oh
site
man.
when a
Wow.
huge storm came in. And it almost turned over the camper. It was so powerful. And when it was done, she opened up the door and the entire glamp ground was flattened.
Oh
And
no.
she tells the story. She's British. She's like, "It was awful. It was terrible. I cried."
Oh no.
She's so cute when she tells the story.
That's
And her
amazing.
maintenance guy comes by, make sure she's okay. And he says, "No, no, I think it's going to be fine." And she's on the phone with her husband, and he talks to the maintenance guy. "No, we're going to have this back in shape by 11 p.m. And sure enough, they did. And so the question I had for her was, well, what did this inform you? How did this inform
Great
you for
question.
moving forward with
Yeah.
your business? Because these disasters, folks, happen for a reason. And a
Mm.
lot of times it's so that we can get better at
Wow.
buttoning
Yeah.
up our business.
Love that.
And she said, "Our tents now can withstand winds of 180 mile an hour, 3 feet of snow."
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Beautiful.
so they proceeded to, grow the business over 7, 8 years. And they said to each other, "Well, when we're ready to exit, what's our number?" And they thought, "And what can we be doing now to button things up so that we're going to be a good sale for somebody
Sure.
and a good acquisition for someone?" And within 6 months, so they were raising a little more capital to get to the another level. And the private equity firm said to them, "We want to buy you. What's your number?" They're like, "So soon?" Meaning that,
Amazing.
they thought it'd be
Love it.
another few years. They'd already
Yeah.
been at it for years. So they sold for over $100 million.
Incredible.
And this was about 5 years ago. They moved to Johannesburg,
Okay.
South Africa,
Yeah. Yeah.
set up their fund. And
Awesome.
their goal is to get 1,000 female-led founders to 100 million in revenue a year
Amazing.
in And
Yeah.
that will change the GDP of Africa.
Wow. That is a incredible, incredible story. Oh my God, that's so inspiring.
Right?
Andy, and you get to have these conversations. That's so cool. I love that.
It's so good. But part of the show
I'm
too, Zeb,
amazed.
is to make sure that I'm providing quality information for the listeners so that they're
Sure.
prepared.
Yeah.
So I did have a great guest on Friday talking about her business, which helps. It's an alternative dispute resolution firm, because media,
Okay.
you're going to have, as you scale, you're going to have disputes,
Yeah. Yeah.
vendors, co-founders, team
Mm-hmm.
members, that sort of thing. You need to be prepared. Was that going to be a heavily attended, no, but now you have something in your content
Yeah.
that you can send people to, because as a founder, I know you have a lot in
Ah,
the plate, but from day
love that.
one you always have to be thinking. I mean, you're in law, so you already know what you're
I
going to
was
do
gonna
if
say
something comes.
ADR is important, near and dear
Yeah,
to my heart, but
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's but a lot of founders like, what, I'm got to raise money, I got to get customer acquisition, team
Sure.
acquisition. Yeah, but you have to be prepared. And
True.
so
Very
now we have a
true.
nice piece of content in there for what to do to mediate, to avoid costly court, civil, or heaven forbid, criminal.
They're doing the Lord's work. That's incredible. I love that. I love that. That's that's amazing, and I love your vision for that because that's one of the hopes. Joanna and I were actually talking about this on Friday. Is that over time, like we hope to just kind of create maybe a little more polished version of these. Like
Yep.
she found an awesome editor that can help kind of create kind of a storyboard version of what these are, and it helps external founders on the path, and b you can show it to investors if they ever ask like, hey, what are your thoughts about product? They'll be like, well, I'm going to refer you
Well, you
to
should
videos
ask.
3 through 10. And but it also just, if I'm brutally honest, like to the point that you made about the LinkedIn post, like mental health is a struggle, that I will probably forever
Mm-hmm.
keep on keeping on with. And like, I love what your point was of like 2 times a week. It's consistent. It's just like a way to do that, and not saying that you're struggling with this, but just as a way for me personally to think about it as like an
It's a
enablement for.
deliverable twice a week.
Yeah,
And
love that.
you feel so good when it's done,
Totally, that's
right?
incredible. Yeah,
There's
yeah.
like a
Check the box. On to the next. Yep.
because it's like getting your PhD, folks. I mean, there's not the usual beginning, middle, and end, and yay. You find yourself going into the bathroom with a toothbrush because you'd rather do that because there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you go, yes.
Love that.
Then
Yeah,
that
yeah,
cleaned
yeah.
the bathroom.
Uh-huh.
There's none of that with the startup. There is,
So true.
you are gonna, there's no, sometimes you see signs of life or light at the tunnel or whatever
Sure.
you'll land, oh, but
Mm-hmm.
most of the time you are going with your grit.
Great point. Great point. Yep. And it's so fleeting at times to maintain that if in the face of, I don't know, the most recent 30 no's that you talk to a VC or
Yeah.
customers or what have you. And I think that people underappreciate just how impactful, like, the human psyche has this amazing capacity for you know pushing through hardships and like enabling really cool product or just product cool things in the face of adversity, and with all the luck I've had in life, like I feel really grateful and privileged to have that as my baseline. And then even that said, like there's also the other side of that is the accumulation of these aspects that you can somewhat self differentiate from the thing that you've built. But a lot of times, like your psyche wears a lot of no's, and just
Yeah. And your
yeah,
worthiness cannot come from your business.
I love that. I love
It
that.
just can't. And it's so hard, everybody. It's so hard. And we all have different DNA packages, right? I mean, I'm a flotation device. I mean, don't think I've just gone through life like, we,
No,
no, I've
no,
had a lot of tragedy
I
and,
believe
and
it.
awfulness,
Yeah,
but my DNA package has helped me, and good therapy and good love has helped me keep rising above. But
That's amazing.
and that's my nature. Um, so, understanding that self-awareness part is so important on the founder journey, and understanding what you are capable of. So Gary V, whether you like him or not, he one of my favorite sayings of his is, I'd rather be happy in my Toyota than crying in my Ferrari. Meaning,
I love that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, please. And I ask this question of all
yeah.
my guests, what does success look for you at this point in time?
Sure.
And whose measuring tape are you using?
Brilliant
Right?
question. Yeah.
Because it's so easy to say, I'm not going to feel successful until I'm at, 50 million, or I'm a unicorn.
Sure.
Well, what if you're just not that person to run a unicorn company?
Yeah. Fair question.
What if, you know, who are you? Because, just because you might be very happy at 100K a year doesn't mean that you aren't successful. There's so much pressure.
So
I
true.
mean, remember 90, how many percent of the population would never start a business? Like, it's
Yeah.
just inconceivable. So
True.
you're in the
True.
percentage that have chosen to, and now you've got to execute and implement under the worst circumstances. And and try to manage the mental health. That's not easy. And so that measuring tape needs to be yours.
Love
And
that. Love that.
so don't compare yourself to the mythology that's out there of how entrepreneurship is supposed to look and feel. Do it by what you're getting out of it, and how you're sharing your gifts to the world. And I have a great little
Mm.
short video, TikTok, IG Reel,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm everywhere, but it's called You Always Win When You Launch a Business, no matter what happens. And the
Mm.
reason I believe that is because of the experience of self-knowledge you're going to get through the launch, okay? And life knowledge. And after, going through all of that, you're finding parts of yourself you never knew were there.
Yeah.
You may get informed of the fact that, I'd rather work at a bigger company who has a lot of assets, and I can pick up the phone when IT goes down. And
Yeah. No. No shame in that. I hear you.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
like, yay, I learned that. And then you're going
Yeah.
to bring back better skills to,
There
and
you
get
go.
paid more
There you
from your
go.
experience.
Fair point. I love that. I love that, Andy. And I think you're so right in just the kind of self understanding that you have in and during and at the end of it. And I think just enabling the stuff that should be easier, right? Like the discussions of mental health, right? Like I don't think that has
Yes.
to be this like foreign thing where it's like you come out of the woodwork and talk about it and it's weird, right? Like I want to have that normalized as part of that conversation.
Yeah.
And I think to your point, the fact that you have these conversations about the ups and downs, like I think that's reflected in those stories so effusively, and I love that. And I think to your other point of just like um, the self learning that you can have during this process is powerful, but at the same point, like some of that learning, it doesn't go in a straight line, right? Like it's sometimes it's you try this thing, it works, it doesn't work. You try that thing, it works, it doesn't work. And you have the perverse incentives of a VC or somebody that says like, we need to see X growth, at this time. When in the meantime, it's like the market is what the market's going to do, and then so I think you need to find a middle ground of what
That's
that
right.
is, and I think you
And
promote that well.
yeah, and also, one of the questions I'm always asking the founders too is, what's the mindset hack
Mm.
that you
Okay,
can
what are some
use?
of yours? Yeah, what are
Oh, well,
give us a couple.
the number one from almost 200 interviews is peer support, because no one understands this journey in your life like other founders. And
Love it.
and frankly, I wrote this article on Medium called when your beloved is not an entrepreneur.
Okay,
And it's,
amazing.
you have to have conversations with your beloveds, your partners in life, so that they understand what this means to you and their involvement, because you will probably dip into the 401k or run up the credit cards. You
Hmm.
need to have your partner on board with this.
Amazing.
And so having those hard conversations is important, but also not telling them everything is also important. It's like,
Mhm.
as a parent, you don't want your kid to tell you what they did that day, especially as
Fair.
they get into the teens and then they're
Yeah.
in the 20s. It's like, no, I don't want to know. Same thing with the folks watching you, because a lot of times they want the best for you, but really it's like watching a train wreck about to happen for them if they are not an entrepreneur.
Sure.
Whereas when you talk to peer support, wherever you find it, go find it online, in person, because they're going to go, oh my God, you're kidding. How'd you get through that? Oh, and they're going to I had that happen. This is how I got to the other side. Or I didn't think I thought, that's it. We're done.
Sure.
Cooked, put a fork in it.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
so the peer support is the number one. The other thing is taking time off from the work, like really setting a period of time aside, 12 hours even, where you
Okay.
do nothing with your business, which is really hard because you are a parent, right? With
Sure.
the
Yeah.
business, and be like taking 12 hours off from your kid, which is also delightful.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Uh-huh.
you have to do it for your mental health. And if does that mean, going outside, whatever that looks like, that was, I would say, is the number two piece of advice, is just having something else you can focus on, and taking that no emails, no anything. And
Yep.
then
That's
finally, it's
great.
that ability to just really be okay with delegating and not have
Mm.
that fierce control over every detail.
Yeah.
And just, telling people, yeah, I trust you're going to do your best, and we'll go with the flow.
That's incredible. I love those three, and we're definitely going to put those in the description of this, and we'll get a link out to the Medium article too, because I think those are incredible. How do you put those into place? Like, what does that practically look like? Like, what are some steps that you found? I mean, obviously, the talking to your partner, like read your article first, I think is a good first step. But how about the making time and delegation? Like, what are some things
Boy,
you found?
yeah, you've got to just set those boundaries, because it's intoxicating and it can be addicting, the
Sure,
business, right?
it can.
Especially like the possibility, the potential, that first 18 months, it's
Mm-hmm.
just like any relationship, there's the glow
Yeah,
and your
yeah.
brain is like, ooh.
Uh-huh.
And you just have to set up those boundaries. And Stephen Covey talked about this years ago
Okay.
in his book, Seven Habits of
Yeah,
Highly Successful People. And it
great
was that
book.
12 to 24-hour period where you just unplug, because you have to assimilate all these things going on.
Totally.
And
Great point.
it depends on how you can do it in your life. And because, folks, here's the scope. You see so much on social media, right? And for women out there, and even men too, you see someone's like, get up at 5 and do this and do that. Well, you know, how is it that you're able to do that? Well, they may have a nanny, they may have a chef, they may have,
Right, right.
money to order out every night.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're in the same storm, the entrepreneurship storm, but as my good friend Mia always says, you're we're not in the same boat.
Mm,
So,
great point.
to
Great point.
compare yourself to somebody who, like the Kardashians, or somebody who's saying, she recently said this too, which was, you get up at 5 and you just do it. No, no, no.
Yeah.
We can be exhausted. Okay. We
Right.
can be
Yeah.
exhausted because we haven't been able to pay the rent or the mortgage in a while.
Right.
Or how about the people who say friends and family round? I laugh about that all the
Oh
time.
my Lord. Yeah.
Oh my God, some people, they hear you're an entrepreneur, they're borrowing money from you. You got 20, or
100%.
family and friendly could be that person, the people sleeping on your couch because they, are in between houses at
Yeah.
there's a lot of privilege out there.
Yeah, it's true.
And
So true.
so finding creative ways. And I'm always asking people, how are you funding your business? How did you figure that out? What conversation did you have if you're in partnership?
Yeah.
Um, some
Right.
people are like, I just saved. I saved for a 3-year runway. And wow, that's great, because they were coming from a good corporate
Sure.
gig.
Yep.
Um, Other people launched a services business, so they got customers in right away that were paying. But for someone like LegalQ, it is going to take time to set up the organization. Plus, you are constrained. This is the law.
Yeah.
So whenever I have an attorney on my show, I have a disclaimer, verbal
Yeah.
and in writing. Everything
Smart.
we're talking about here is not legal advice. If
Very,
you
very
need
smart.
legal advice, go
Mm-hmm.
find an attorney and hire them. This is not it.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of constraints you have as you build your community.
True.
And what you're doing is just time consuming, and it's lofty and it's audacious and it's so needed. And unless you just came from a big role at some major startup, your ability to get funding will be hard because investors, you're not going to look
Yeah.
like the Andreessen Horowitz star founder.
It's a great point. Really, really
It's a
great point.
meritocracy out there, people, not a meritocracy. It's a mirror.
I can definitely relate to that. So, um, just as a quick aside, so the Lee, our CFO, and I went out to the Valley last March, I think, or April, and we had some meetings on the books with some VCs that were interested, and angels and different. The launch accelerator was one of them, and the meetings went okay for a couple, but one day I remember we had like three in a row cancel for that afternoon, and I'm like, okay, so what do we do? Like I spent $2,000 to fly out here for the hotels for a week. Like that's not a great use of capital if I can't get a meeting, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, okay, screw it. I'm gonna walk down Sand Hill Road. And so I literally took an Uber to Stanford, and then found out it's still a long walk, so I took another Uber to get to the front of Sand Hill Road. And I literally like door knocked on the different VCs along the road. And I will say, to Andreessen Horowitz credit, they were probably the kindest of the ones that I
Oh,
met.
that's
They
wonderful to
gave me a
hear.
push.
Yay.
But we set up some meetings from it, and I told the story on Twitter and different things. But it's literally a sandhill shuffle. Like you gotta do that and get creative about how you approach
Come
it.
to
If you don't,
Boston next time.
I do love
The, Bo-
Boston. I do
the
love Boston.
Boston investor community is outstanding and they
They're
write
solid.
checks.
That's good to hear. And I was talking with a buddy actually. He's in Boston um, last week, and he said the same. Like the Boston community is really like it hasn't been hit as hard maybe as the Valley that has seen some more down to earth valuations, and they actually have the network there to make it happen. So it's on the list. I'll say that for sure.
Yay. Well, I just, there's when you're working on something too that is such a social game changer, right? Social
Thank
justice.
you.
Um,
Thank you.
it's even the pressure on the founder, everybody, is even more, okay, because you know how important what you're doing is. And yeah, and so trying to get everything up and running, getting the technology working, getting folks signed up. So I interviewed, do you know Eli Ngote? So
Sounds
he's
familiar.
out of
Can't place
San
them.
Francisco, greater San Francisco area, but
Okay.
he back in 2012 started a business that was so you could get um, notaries. God, I just
Oh,
went out
okay.
of my head.
Sure.
Notaries virtually.
Oh,
And
love
so
that.
he had
Yeah.
to set up relationships in every state. Feel
Hmm.
free to reach out to him. He is amazing.
Okay.
I it's probably notary something.com, but anyway, um,
There's a
but
couple
it
big
took
ones.
a long
Yeah.
time to get those relationships, find the good notaries in each state. You've got
I
to do the
bet.
same thing, vet all the good attorneys and get
Yeah.
the right people onboarded who are in alignment with the mission.
Hmm.
And because you want to be able to refer and all of that, it just takes time.
I love that advice. And Andy, I'm just so grateful for you again to come chat about your incredible live streaming and all this other just life advice that you have for people. And where can people find you and your work today? We're going to be blasting this on all the socials and everything.
Excellent. Anywhere you see the name Ande Lyons, I'm doing something, even on TikTok.
Love it.
I
Love it.
I always share a little snippet of advice that my guest shares, but I'll be honest with you, a lot of times it's just so I can see what I wore last.
That's I got to figure that out too. I've been thinking
Right.
about that. It's hard. Yeah, yeah.
But I know that we were talking about live streaming and having guests on and everything. Part of that consistency and all is really understanding, how to bring a guest on. So folks, there's email templates that you can send out when you're asking, inviting a guest, where you're just very clear.
Sure.
This is the show. This is what it's about. This is how long we go. I provide questions that, whatever you want to get here are available dates. You just make it really clear and simple and easy for them. And then, exam links so they can see what other shows are about. Then when they confirm, you take them through the process. I'll send you a calendar invite. So many days before we go live, I'll get this information to you. I need your headshot, bio, collateral, social links, etc. And in my case, I have to schedule a tech and show check. Then have your script ready, because you need a script. I don't care how seasoned you are at speaking. Talking to a camera, talking to a mic is different. Have your understanding of how the show flow is going, your opening, your intro, the body of your show, your closing, your outro. What does that all look like? And so you have a good idea of how you want to take people through the story for your show. And then definitely have the follow-up email to your guests, thanking them for their time and giving them links to the archives. And then for yourself, set up the things that you need to do. If you want to promote ahead of time, get your schedule going. I'm going to hop off here and I'll start promoting tomorrow's event with Asia Atwood at Trella Technologies, an automated robotic plant training device that helps plants
Amazing.
grow this way
No
instead of
way.
that way,
That's
saving so
incredible.
much money and labor. So, I'll do that, but it's in my calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything becomes second nature at a certain point, and it's a
Yeah.
system and procedure is where I'm going,
Mm-hmm.
because that's how you stay consistent. As you set it up with templates for everything, and then have your system like, this is what I'm doing, this many days before, and just your little checklist that you can check. It becomes really easy to implement and execute.
I love that, Andy. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that great
And I'm happy
feedback.
to share that with anybody. Just reach out to me, Andy@AndyLyons.com, and I'd be happy to send you what I use
Amazing. Everyone, please do so.
to
That's
track.
incredible. Andy, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And I
Great. And
am,
I'm live, everybody, on Tuesdays and Fridays at 12 noon
yeah,
EST on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, because that helps increase my impact out in the world. Share my shows with folks, because there are founders in your feed that you don't even know about that might benefit from the
true.
conversations I'm having with founders from all walks of life. And investors. I usually get a couple of investors on every month.
Andy, you are incredible. I am so, so
You are
grateful
too,
to you.
Zab, and
Oh my
Joanna, and
God.
everybody at LegalQ.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been a wealth of knowledge. Everybody go check her stuff out. It's so incredible. And I am just delighted to have you today. Thank you, thank you, thank you for taking
Thank you.
time and
I'm here
sharing
for
your
you
expertise.
100%, Zab.
You're the best. I
You
can't
are.
wait to continue the chats, and maybe we could do a check-in to see if we've learned
Yeah.
any of this stuff along the way, and
Excellent.
would love to do so. So
Thank
thank you
you.
so much, and we'll chat again soon. Thanks,
Good.
Andy.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna end stream. I'll stay on Zoom for a sec here. All right.
And I want to invite you over to StreamYard for a few seconds.
Oh yeah, let's do that. That'd be great.
You want to do that?
Sure.
Let me just get the link so you can put it in there.
Okay.
I kind of have like a kind of hard stop at 3:05, but this is very important.
Okay. Should I still end the stream, do you think? And then
In just a second, let me give you the link to come
Okay.
join me.
Perfect,
And then we'll
perfect.
end it. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So
Because
I'm excited to see this. Everybody, this is the software you use to make it all happen. A lot less janky than Zoom plus Streamlabs. So
So you can pull the comments up for everybody to see. So once you click on that, then we
Okay.
can leave. Cool.
Awesome. All right. I will be there in a second.
See you soon.
All right.